nourbeSe Philip is an unembedded poet without ambition who was born in Tobago and lives in Toronto. The author of several works of poetry, fiction, nonfiction, and drama, she remains humbled by the risk-based act of faith that is the practice of poetry.
So I have two poems in the Yale Review, and I'm just going to read a very short section from each. Interestingly, I think they both deal with death and dying, which is a very alive state. There's a lot of life and energy in dying and death. And you'll see what I mean by that. The first poem is about what happens when words die as a poet. The Poets Awoke is the title. The poets awoke. The poets awoke one morning. The poets awoke one morning to find. The poets awoke one morning to find that all their words had left them, fleeing into the blackness of night that had no end. The poets awoke one morning and found, as their mothers had warned when they were children, that there were some words too heavy for their tongues to lift, to carry the burden of speech. The poets awoke one morning and found, like birds fleeing a burning field, their words had upped and flown away, no words to talk about what should not be. The poets awoke one morning and found their words smashed to smithereens, like so many bodies under 2,000-pound bombs. The poets scrabbled here, there, everywhere, under rubble, trying to find a word, a letter, a phrase. The poets awoke to find that words that appeared so inconsequential, thee, and, but, this, that, even those had been destroyed. The poets awoke one morning to find that along with that, more portentous words like truth had disappeared. The other poem is called The All of You Except. It's a long, very long poem, and this is an excerpt, and this is an excerpt of an excerpt. I wanted to read this because I'm going to be doing a reading after this, and the reading inhabits or engages with those who have died. And this poem began about a brother who had died to us as a family. And when the Yale Review invited me, I thought I would continue to work on it. I began it about 3 or 4 years ago. What I didn't realize is that my brother was dying as I was writing the poem. So this is it. And it references a photograph in which he appears to have only one hand. The title is An All of You Except. Oh, I should also, for those who are non-Caribbean or non-black speaking, there's some vernacular in here. I call it the Demotic, unlike Kamau, who says nation language. I distrust nations. So just, it's not a lot of it, but don't get anxious. You'll grasp it. Where was it? Where had it gone? The arm. Is how you making it grow, growing it back? How did you, your arm, the one that's not there, grow it back, it not there from elbow down the external reality of arm? Is hand, we calling it, in the time of once upon, a Caribbean hand, that all the way from tip finger to shoulder is hand, not arm, and at 4, 5, and 6, I wondering would wonder where it gone in the black and white picture. I holding, going, gone to where, here, or somewhere. The arm, the hand, his hand. The all of you except. Their black skin aglow in the sun, but the hand, the Caribbean hand, the very all of you except. Short black pants, skinny legs, knobbly knees, shirt pressed smooth into white with hot black flat iron love and the ghost of a smile curving your lips. Eyelids flutter, shuttering your eyes, look down, not out at your past, ready and already futured, missing me gazing. Down low history, the hold rhymed in holy, in the time of off rhyme, on and between talk, times tick tick, eating away relentless, days of gone and gone, the silvered broken boy, magic boy, broken image, defying the missing in the wounded arm, awaiting the cauterized in silver, plus nitrate, times 3, done, dumb, numb, history. Thank you.
Thank you. It's wonderful to hear those out loud. And I was sort of repetition is such has such an amazing range of effects in your work, and I was struck by that phrase, the poets, the poets, the poets, and the poets awoke, which makes it a kind of person or a sort of identity. And it made me curious if you, because you write across a number of genres, you also write fiction, you also write nonfiction, do you think of yourself as a poet across these different forms? And if so, what does that mean for you? Or is poetry a kind of less about that sort of noun role than the thing you're entering into? But what kind of person is this, the poets?
What kind of person is a poet? I think poetry extends throughout all the genres. To quote our son, who says, poet is the foundation, I think, of all the literary arts. It's there underneath. And Kathy and I were talking a couple of days ago about the efficiency of poetry. Like I was saying to her, it's so difficult to get somebody across the room in fiction, you know, if you're writing, whereas in poetry I could move them there immediately. But I think poetry underpins it all. And who's the poet? The poet is the one who is grieving, the one who is almost like an echo, feeling the beating in the culture, I think. And I mean, I think, you know, in a sense, when words are so important and so precious, you know. And one of the things I tell young people is that the challenge for us, we who use language, is that this very same medium is used to bamboozle us, to sell us things we don't want, to convey ideas that, you know, we're not interested in. You're now in your election period, you know. We have to take that medium, unlike paint, unlike stone, unlike music even. We have to take it and wash it, rinse it, and give it to the audience, give it to your reader in a way as if they're hearing it for the first time. But it's the same basic unit that you're working with. I think that's the challenge for us. Yeah?
Yeah, and it sort of, I love that idea of sort of working on the language, working with this language that's you've inherited from these different contexts. It makes me think about the All of You Accept. A lot of that piece is working with a photo, which in turn reminded me of The Project of Zong, which is such a remarkable book, and everyone should stick around for that reading. The work that book does with this English legal ruling. I'm curious about the sort of how much of your work comes from sort of taking on these other texts, these other materials, and sort of how you know when you've found one that needs a poem, or sort of, do you sit with another text or image for a while before you start to write, or does it sort of grab you immediately?
Oh, I'm an inveterate note taker. I'm making notes all the time. But I think what I want to share with the audiences, and I think those like myself who come from cultures for whom English is a mother tongue and also not a mother tongue, I have a profound distrust of language, and which seems strange because I work with it, but I never take it for granted, and I'm always questioning what's behind the word, you know, and why does the word mean that? And in the last few years, I've taken to making up words, which is why Jen Hadfield's work so appeals to me. You know, when I work on the computer, I'm always misspelling words, and they're so wonderful, the words that come out, you know? So I've taken, some of you may have got an email saying yours best. have a berry, very summer or something. Because when I type very, berry comes up. I think, oh, that's really cool to have a very berry summer. Isn't that wonderful? So that's how language, like you can have so much fun with it. And for me, for whom English is a mother tongue, is a father tongue, is a foreign anguish, I really have to, really work with it to make it yield my own tongue. And when I was writing Zong, the last section of Zong, Ferom, where the language is broken down into just little, phonemes, vocables, I really felt I was closest to my own language, that it was this grunt and growl. And I understood Audre Lorde in a way I never had before, that, we have to make this. I love English, don't get me wrong. Absolutely love it. And when you asked your question, the last question about first and last, I thought the first time I saw, and I'll tell you a quick anecdote. Just come from Tobago. I had never heard bad words before. I was 8 years old, I didn't know what a bad word was. But I could see on the street people, the boys were doing, like they would react to these words. I plotted for weeks. I had to say one of these words because of the power.
Yeah.
And so I did finally. My sister pushed me down the stairs and I said, oh shit. And it was like, oh, this is so wonderful. So I mean, maybe that's my love of language. So I love English, but I have a very complicated relationship with it. Yeah. And the love comes from the Book of Common Prayer, believe it or not, the Anglican hymn prayer book, but also the vernacular on the street. Yeah. So it's those two things, as in for all of you. They're constantly rubbing up against each other and confronting each other.
Yeah. That's great, and it's true that it feels true to me too that curse words are some of the first words where you can really feel the power they have and see their effects and watch how they move. Okay, it's your turn to choose.
So favorite, not the first, I blew that up.
Favorite, last, first, or never?
Favorite,
last, first, or never?
Never.
Never. Okay. The never question is, what would you never want to write about that you feel your education or our culture might push you or expect you to write about?
Oh my God. What would I never write about?
Something you know you never want to write about, even though you feel that there's an expectation either from your education or our culture. People think you might write about it, but you know you don't want to. Or your education has prepared you to write about it, but you've decided you don't want to go there or have no interest in it.
You got me stumped there. Maybe, what would I never write about it? Okay, so let's go back. I'll do what Lydia was doing yesterday. She was just breaking things down like a lawyer. So what has my education prepared me for? Like legal stuff? Legal stuff, political stuff. Is there anything there I wouldn't want to write about? No.
You'll write about any of it?
Yeah.
Good.
I'm sorry.
No, that's awesome. And we hope you do. Thank you so much.